Hello and welcome viewers to We Talk Talent interview series. Those who have been following us are aware that every week we interview an industry expert on one or more aspects of talent acquisition. Today with us, we have Sandeep Batra. Sandeep is leading human resource function, corporate social responsibility and corporate communications for Landmark Group. Hello and welcome Sandeep to this episode of We Talk Talent.
Thank you.
We all agree the workplace has seen a major disruption on account of digital technology, new work formats, and the need to reskill. Consequently, job seekers are also facing a dilemma with respect to which organization would be best fit for them. Sandeep, from you, I would like to know some insights on what factors must an employee consider before selecting an employer.
Very interesting question from the current context. And I must start by saying that in the last about 18 months or so, the whole context in the industry is completely changed. And I would say what I would call the attractiveness or the employee value proposition from potential candidates' point of view has also undergone a big change. And I would say it's got completely redefined now. However, if I have to prioritize and really call out, I would talk about three factors which today potential candidates see in any organization before making a decision of whether to join or not. One would be the amount of flex in the ways of working which companies carry, and we've seen a lot about that. We've seen a lot of discussion happening. Some companies had been, even before COVID, slightly more flex. Work from home was obviously a part of the processes. But it got accelerated when COVID really happened. Some of the companies have adopted well, some still struggling to do it well. But yeah, one clear difference which we come across to a potential employee is whether how much does a flex the organization has to offer me before he or she will take a call to join a company. So flex becomes one important factor in terms of someone taking a call. Second, I think one more factor which is going to be staying for a longer period of time is the support mechanism or well-being quotient of the organization. And I think today that stands apart. See, most important assets of any organization are people. And organizations the last few months, or I would rather say 18 months or so, have not hesitated to go extra mile to offer support to their people. In terms of COVID relief, in terms of health measures, in terms of other well-being measures. And I think these are one of the very clear differentiators which will continue to strike the minds of potential candidates. While COVID may go or these things may go, but the impact of this will remain very high on the top of the mind of employees. So this becomes a second area I would see clearly differentiating. Third is really the whole area of diversity, inclusivity at the workplace. And I think the need of having an inclusive and diverse workplace could not have been bigger. Organizations who have really given priority to this area made radical changes in the last few months on this and gone beyond the requirements, only what is prescribed by law, really are being seen that they are being more attractive to potential candidates. And I'll give you small examples. While a lot of us talk a big time about diversity, inclusivity, as a part of diversity being a part of our workforce, but how many of us realize that when we are even coming to a virtual kind of environment, the timings of the meetings we are keeping, are we really conscious of the fact that a woman sitting at home, there's no maid working at her home? How is she balancing it? They're all unconscious biases which were part of the system, but how have they got adopted in this virtual environment also made a lot of difference, So yeah, it's really about the organization's ability to think through, make sure that they are contextually also adapting themselves and becoming more attractive, to the potential candidates. To me, these three things are really, are three things which a potential candidate will look at today from that perspective.
Yes, and Sandeep, I totally agree. This is the same similar signs we're getting when we are speaking to other industry leaders, that flexibility, well-being, the DE&I agenda, which the organization is committed to, are really very important factors that not even millennials, anybody who's looking for jobs are considering. And you very clearly brought out about that, for DE&I agenda, it's not only that we need to consider while hiring, but also what we're doing within, everyday culture of the organization also kind of is very important to have a diverse workforce. The next question is about virtual hiring. How have you trained managers, or what do you think are some of the best practices to do virtual hiring with respect to training hiring managers as well as, recruiters who are involved with this virtual recruitment process?
So there are two parts to this whole thing. One is the capability of the managers, and then the other is the whole ecosystem. Organizations which are really all about sustaining the virtual hiring, even if we go back to the normal ways of working, then how do you recreate the ecosystem? Because see, I'll tell you, ultimately what we are trying to do by a virtual hiring is trying to create the same environment as we were in a face-to-face scenario, right? Now, look at from a point of view of a candidate. When he or she walks into the office for a physical interview, they see the culture in motion, right? How can you create that virtually is really the key. And some companies do very good practices. They would probably, when before the candidate really comes onto the meeting as a link, they would give a glimpse of how the office is, the kind of people you want to work with, just to give some idea about. Because to the candidate sitting on the other side of the camera, it's actually one big ambiguous world. He or she is about to enter. So one is about really the ecosystem that really you're not really joining the gang of virtual interview company, but also creating an ecosystem of that. Yeah, the second part to this is really about the capability of, or what managers need to do more of, really to make sure that this becomes a success. And to me, in my experience, these things really have again evolved. One is how do your hiring managers really give a glimpse or communicate the company culture and values to the candidates is one very big agenda item. Let's again understand that it's not a physical interview where you're sitting in a room and you have culture across the walls. The person is reading and feeling or experiencing what it is all about. It's a virtual meeting between two people. So how it be during the words or in their entire job description download, you're able to really bring out the important constituents of your value system. It's very, very important, number one. Number two is, how do you make sure that when you are really taking the person through the job description itself, the condition of service itself, the way it is explained is really free of bias. Sometimes you would say, I would like him to do such kind of jobs, and I would like her to do such kind of. So it should not really come across as a bias. So really, make sure you streamline yourself to be very, very unbiased in terms of explanation. Third thing is really the art of striking conversations, genuine conversations. The question which you normally used to ask in a physical environment, you can't be replicated here, because it sometimes becomes, quite boring, for a candidate to speaking to a screen, right? Because on the other side, the person is, you don't know in what shape or size, and so many times the networks really don't behave. So the art of really striking genuine conversations so that one is able to create some good experience for the candidate, and also the interviewer is also able to take away what you need to in terms of the capability of the skills of the individual are some of the important things which, both from organization and individual point of view is to be kept in mind for.
Very interesting, Sandeep. And, recently there have been a lot of talks of using technologies to create use simulation, to give a feel to candidates about what the workplace is going to look like or what their roles are going to look like. So I'm sure we'll take some time to reach there, but probably in some countries these things are happening. So now coming back to using technology for hiring, what do you think, are some of the ways in which technology is improving the hiring process or the candidate specifically?
There are many ways, today how hiring is really improving or enhancing the experience of the candidates. Number one is really the whole process of where it starts, because it's simplified. Number two, even before the candidates come for the interview per se on the destined date of the meeting, I think today over the whole technology platform, you're able to really foresend the entire, write up on the company. What can you expect from the meeting? Some good companies started doing that. Who are you going to meet? This is a brief profile of the person. You're able to do all of that, to make sure that you're well prepared. You expect what is going to happen, so that you're also prepared in terms of what questions are going to come. And so there's a good kind of rapport building you can do during the interview. Number one. Number two is what we spoke about, the whole virtual office tools as well, right? How can you really bring alive the whole workplace virtually to the candidate, where he or she can, go through, see what kind of people you work with, what kind of culture, work processes are at floor, what is working really. So that's the second thing. Third, really is about the whole experience in terms of assessments. And I've seen today, I'm sure you would have been aware that there are a lot of a lot of scalable tools today which are available for assessment. HireView was the first to come up about 4-5 years back, where in 15 months like you engage, especially these are tools designed for more of the younger generation, because if you see any workplace today, the demographics will talk about that a large portion of any companies are represented by youth now. And youth obviously get simulated or get attracted by some kind of technology tools. And that's where, these tools have been able to penetrate well, or make them attractive. So small tools like AI-based tools are able to assess the individual in 15 minutes time. From the company point of view, they're able to make a pre-assessment in terms of which candidates do they want to interview, which they want to leave it aside. And then, of course, from a time taken point of view, it saves the whole agony of somebody getting into a whole mass assessment center, walking up to the company. So all that is really saved. Fourth is really about the onboarding process. Today, you're able to, even before the candidate lands up and remote working, God knows till what time it's going to continue. So very well ahead of the joining date, the person is able to understand what kind of onboarding schedule is on there. Basis, the initial assessment done, we're able to see the skill gaps, which is required for the role, and pass it on to the manager to be careful about or invest in the person. And you can even map on daily basis and how in terms of how much onboarding has really got done. So there are many tools today, depending on the investment capacities, the whole intent of the companies, and really about the timelines each manager is investing into these areas really dictates of to what extent you can do. But yeah, there are infinite possibilities to really, scale up the experience of the candidates, of course.
With respect to campus hiring, Sandeep, how can we better prepare students to enter the workplace and, kind of bridge that gap with respect to what is required in the workplace, in the virtual world? So what would be a good onboarding strategy which organizations should follow?
Yeah, so look, the onboarding strategy actually starts quite before even physically or when the actual campus dates start. It's actually a larger answer I'm trying to give you is whether, progressively campus programs or campus hiring are not limited to a certain season now. It's actually throughout the year. So typically, the year would start by senior leaders from company, talking to candidates even when the campus dates are not even frozen. Just to make sure that, sometimes from an alma mater point of view, leaders would go and talk to students so that there is a consistency in terms of the branding maintained at the campus. For example, if you talk about a company like Vodafone, for example, they would make sure that even before the campus dates are announced, they will continue to go to, and senior leaders discuss. So there is a brand recall which keeps happening. The second activity is that since the younger generation or the younger demographics of population are really very, very tuned to competition, technology, a lot of companies have started doing competitions on campus, which doesn't mean that physically you're doing competitions, but you can land competitions on platforms like Dare to Compete. And I can give examples of my last organization where we used to host a national competition, and as long as you're a team of two, it used to go across to 15,000 colleges across the country, and you apply. It was basically a business situation, and you apply to that. and basis your score, which also has a numerical ability test along with that. So you get the descending order scores, and basis that you select the top 50 teams, and then you take them through further challenges, and top 5 teams are then invited to meet the executive, make presentation, and then you reward. So basically you keep that again, the consistency of engagement continues. And then of course the final dates come in terms of the campus, where obviously through digital assessments, which is anywhere, anytime assessments, you appeal to the larger demographics, that this company is digital in nature. And then finally is the piece of the virtual interview, and then we close the process. So pretty much you see, through virtual platforms or technology platforms, you're able to engage with the masses throughout the year, and which helps you to maintain the consistency of your brand and a great employee value proposition.
Very interesting, Sandeep, and I totally agree that since you already mentioned campus hiring is happening throughout the year, it is very important for industry and academia to have certain synergy with respect to, doing projects, being in the campus, right throughout the year. So, that will be a very good way for them to be productive in the workplace. Given that the pandemic hit us suddenly, and you being an HR professional, HR was badly disrupted, because you were managing the entire organizational resources, human resources. So what has been your biggest learning in these 2 years because of the pandemic?
See, look, the pandemic has not thrown any different challenges to the ones we already had. But however, if you really want me to call out, it's really about the learning is, the biggest learning for me is that there is no substitute for human assets, right? Human capital is your biggest asset, and how you really retain them becomes very, very contextual. And my biggest learning in this area is that a very balanced approach to retaining people is really what is always required. In this, whether it is rewards, whether it is right benefits, whether it is well-being, or in terms of capability, all came to the fore. If you see in the last 1 year, the companies had to undergo big changes in terms of contextually changing their benefits and policies, which were very attuned to the COVID situation. One had to make sure we invest in reskilling of people, because overnight companies became from physical to a quasi-digital or absolutely digital. So it needed HR folks to invest into capacities or capabilities of people so that they would adjust to the new ways of working. Talent, of course, with more and more companies becoming digital, the talent was short. So a lot of models came into play in terms of build, buy, and borrow as well. Short-term assignments have come into picture now, right? And then, of course, the whole piece of making sure that the well-being of people is being protected, health, safety, well-being, again came to the fore. So I think I don't think the fundamental parameters will ever change, but it's contextually how we define that, or what gets added to each of these elements will continue to evolve, or more things get added to and some things may get deleted. But these fundamental pillars will never ever change, is my biggest learning. The second learning is that, wherever there's the opportunity of, digitization, we must accelerate that. I think the companies who were very, very successful in navigating the whole COVID situation were the ones who were obviously in the mindset really, took the opportunity and accelerated this thing, and the companies who were left behind were basically fundamentally weak in terms of not adapting to this opportunity. So how much as organizations adaptability to change, in terms of what is really mass and what is volumetric can be really automated or digitized. Companies who were able to adapt to this kind of thinking were really successful. And then HRs who were really, standing tall to make sure that how quickly they step in to make sure that they were able to monitor or manage this change for the company well, including building capability, I think has been the second biggest learning, that, how rapidly can you adopt to the change and make sure that you stand tall to drive this change as a leading function is really the key. They're two big learnings for me as a function head.
Very interesting, Sandeep. My last question to you would be that, if you were to advise the young people who are going to be looking for jobs, the young professionals are looking for their first job or looking to change job within 2 to 3 years of their career, which industry do you think are the industries, they should be looking at, based on the current economic situation, and why?
Look, I firmly believe there is, it's really not about the industry. And, I get asked these questions, a lot of forums that, by the college students, that which industry we should go to or not go to. To me, that is force fitting yourself. All of us are made to excel, rather than looking outside, I would say rather look inside. And I often tell the youth not to change their dreams ever. Dreams are dreams and you must live with it. Is that sometimes you need to really make sure that you're ready contextually better than they were before. And to me, what's your learning agility is very, very important. And last 1.5 years has thrown us a big challenge. I don't think jobs are going away. Jobs are there to take. It is just that the skills required to do that job are continuously evolving. So how am I keeping up pace in terms of sharpening my saw and making sure that I contextually keep myself relevant by reskilling is the one key. Second, be more open, more risk taker is the second key. Third, really make sure that there is no shortcut to success. It is not that I'm going to join because they're into selling content. These all are patterns we are seeing. How long do they go? How the industry pan out? We don't know. Only thing we know is we have control on ourselves. We can correct what we are doing. So be open to this change. Be more agile in terms of learning. Learn the art of whole persona making or digital is the third thing, and of course, ready to take on challenges is the fourth thing I would say as the 4 pillars of being ready for anything which comes our way.
Very true, Sandeep. I remember 10 years back, if anybody wanted to make a career in sales, would think about joining an FMCG. But today, that's not the case. Today, there is so much choice, and today there's so much fluidity between, working from one organization to another organization that really, taking risks and being agile is more important. So what I want to leave behind is that today's size does not give you a competitive edge. What gives you a competitive edge is agility. And a lot has changed in the workplace, and a lot will continue to change. With that, we close this episode of We Talk Talent series. Sandeep, it was great to have you here, and you shared some great insights. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Puja. Pleasure talking to you today, and thank you for having me here today. Thank you.